Hello and welcome back to another episode of Game Brigade. I'm your host, Brian, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Shivers, currently available on Kickstarter. If you're new to the show, we do reviews, previews, and playthroughs of your favorite games, so that's something that interests you, please consider subscribing. So I wanted to take a look at the Shivers. It's currently available right now on Kickstarter, and it's one of the more unique games that I have found on Kickstarter, well, and really in board gaming in general. So I wanted to take a chance to show you guys this game and see if this is something that interests you, as I have been pretty interested in it already. So let's take a look. Okay, so the Shivers brought to you by Andy Logan. We're currently on day 10 with 4,217 backers, and we're about $358,000 pledged. The original pledge goal was 40,000. I feel like that's a little bit low for the scope of this game, especially with the production value that required, but you know, they're well above that already, so that's good. Now Andy, this is his first created back, so I always tell people that to really do their research on Kickstarters whenever you're going to be backing something. Obviously with Andy Logan, we don't have that backlog to follow through with to really know if this is a good back or not. From what I've understood and what I've read so far, it looks like the project's all in line. It looks like Andy has done some of the necessary things, but you know, I'm just not sure until obviously we see some more stuff from him. So the Shivers, what is this game about and what is it like? So this is a pop-up board game where you're going on an adventure, and I would say from the videos I've watched, it's very akin to a Dungeons and Dragons RPG-like experience. So first off, if you do not like RPGs or being a dungeon master, I don't necessarily think this game would be for you. And we'll get to that in a little bit further down as to why. So let's talk about the game. So the game here we'll have 6 rooms, and these are pop-up rooms, which will have a slid into the back, which will then change some of the aspects of the room. So you'll have photos, portraits, maybe clues hidden behind a safe or in a drawer. Those are all interchangeable with story cards that you'll be sliding into the back. Now this game does require a dedicated DM to run it. That's why I say it's very similar to an RPG or Dungeons and Dragons, as well as players to play the game. This is not a game though that is one versus many. You know, the dungeon master is actively trying to curate a story to help the players along. So generally I have found, and I'm not necessarily sure if Shivers is going to be like that because I have not played the game, but generally when I've played games that have an active DM that plays the role of kind of a curator, you're generally going to be the person who has the most experience with this game because you know how to deliver the best curated enjoyment for the new players. So that, as a board game owner myself, always sucks because then I always end up being the DM. I don't ever get to enjoy the game. So that's one thing I always like to make sure I bring up to someone like this. It's one of the reasons why I've backed away from games like Imperial Assault or Descent, because I always ended up having to be the DM, and I didn't want to do that. I actually wanted to play a hero. So let's take a look at the core game's pledge level. So we're coming at $65. They do say that the MSRP for this will be $75. And with that, you'll be getting 6 interlocking pop-up room tiles. So this will give us a good view here of what we're looking at when we're talking about the rooms. From a perspective of someone who has never played a game like this before, where you're gonna have little 3D pop-ups, this is very intriguing. I like the way this is going. So you have the parlor, you have the kitchen, you have the library, the laboratory, and then you have a gloomy basement. And they also have this creepy courtyard. The layout tiles would be for if you want to have some spacing between some of the rooms. Obviously this one takes you down or up, whatever, you know, perspective you want to take that as, and you would slide these next to these. Now, these are supposed to be magnetic, so when you open it, they will attach and be fully connected. So it will kind of have that kind of panorama-like experience as you're going through this. So they'll have some story cards here. These are I believe the cards that you slide in, and I believe they're rotatable to give more more replayability with each individual card. And then you have the playable characters. Now they're only revealing 4 playable characters. These 2 are not been revealed. Generally, I see those things as stretch goals, but they're outright saying we are going to include 6 characters. So obviously you have the dashboards. These 2 are hidden. And then we have 12 creature standees. I wish we could see more of the art from this. There could be multiple reasons why they haven't shown us the art. 1, the art might not be completed. 2, they might not have the ideas fleshed out. Or 3, they're trying to avoid spoilers for, the game. Those are 3 things that I could, consider as to why. But as a backer, I want, especially a game like this, which I see as a family game, I want to know what I'm getting. I want to know what the art looks like. I can already tell, though, from the art we have here, things are relatively, high-end, well done. So I'm impressed with that. You have a custom die. You have 8 episode guides. These are what the DM will read to reference and tell the story. You have an instruction manual, 1 dry erase marker, and a magnifying glass so you can see things closer. And then they have a secondary pledge here, which is the deluxe edition, which, as a background Kickstarter, I'm generally more intrigued into the deluxe. It's what I see as the value one generally. So let's take a look and see if there's a value here and how that impacts us. So the deluxe edition is becoming at $95. Now they do not list here that it's below SMRP, so we're going to assume, based off of this, that they are claiming this is an MSRP item. Now they will give you the additional rooms, the Eerie Crypt. Now they're also going to include story cards to slide in. I already will tell you, I feel like the game needs more rooms. I feel like this mansion needs a little bit more. And it might be because I'm used to seeing games that have a lot more stuff and the variety. And I feel like the rooms are going to help with the replayability of this game. I feel like the strongest complaint I will see is the fear that there's not going to be enough replayability. Now they are going to say, well, here's some additional story cards. You'll use the same rooms, we'll have different stories, but sometimes the aesthetic of where I'm at also impacts that. So you have additional creature standees. I'd rather have more rooms than these personally. I mean, we have a lot already. You have 12, right? We already have 12 creatures. That's quite a bit of creatures already. 2 new playable characters. These are Kickstarter exclusives. You have a dog and a cat. I would be playing the cat here like 100% of the time. And then you have your character dashboards, that's obvious. And then we have an extra dry erase marker and an extra magnifying glass. These are like 25 cents, 50 cents, like these are very minimal. So in terms of value, we're looking at $30 here, and we haven't checked shipping yet between the standard pledge and all the items that come in here with the base game and the deluxe edition, which does not appear to increase the components or much. You get an extra room, which is the expansion, as well as some additional standard stuff. So is the deluxe edition worth it? I would say no, unfortunately. I don't think that there's enough in here to warrant nearly $100 for this type of game. But let's take a look a little further down and take a look at the shipping and see how that potentially can impact our decisions here. So the core game will be in the US between $10 and $14, as deluxe is between $11 and $15. Luckily, the shipping cost of the deluxe is not exorbitant enough to hurt you. Generally I can see a deluxe games being, say, $10, the deluxe version being $20. So luckily these are close enough that price isn't going to dissuade you. So then you really have to just consider, is the additional content added to that worth the $30? Personally, for me right now, they're not. But that's just because I just don't think there's enough to what I'm seeing to warrant why is that additional $30. The magnifying glass, the dry erase marker, that's not it. So you're telling me it's got to be the one single pop-up and some cardboard standees and some character sheets. I don't think there's enough warrant to call this price. But that's my opinion here. So let's take a look a little further. I want to talk about the stretch goals. So the stretch goals, I tried to wait on this campaign to do it before I did a video because I wanted to see more. I wanted to see if they gave us more rooms or something, and I was really shocked that the first stretch goal was at 300,000 and there were 2 extra dice, and one's a red dice, and it's deluxe edition. But I want, the red dice is interesting because obviously it's not in the core game. So is this something that it should have been needed originally, or is this truly a stretch goal? I'm interested in that. I was really shocked to see the value so high up there at 300,000, especially when the campaign's original goal here was 40,000. That's a big jump there. So let's keep looking at it though, because they have unlocked another one. So at 340, so an additional $40,000 to get to the second stretch goal was 4 new episodes with this guest writer. I liked that. I liked this. To me, seems like a real stretch goal. But I just, the values to me are so high. And the next one's 360, which I feel like they're relatively close, right? Yeah, they're right there. They're right there. I just feel like those jumps are very high. And so I get worried that we're not going to get, some of the things that I would need to make this game worth it. So let's bring my head up. That's the Kickstarter. Let's bring me back up as we finally talk about the value and what we think of this game. So overall, I watched a gameplay video, I think of Before You Play, I think is the name of the channel. I watched Man vs. Meeple, I think was the name of the other person I watched the video from. Let me see here. Man vs. Meeple, and who's these other people? I wish I knew. I don't want to pull up their thing Before You Play. Okay, so I watched both their stuff to kind of get an idea of how does this game play, would this be for me, and would I recommend backing it. And what I thought was very shocking was the free form aspect of this game. There is a DM guide for the DM to the Dungeon Master to guide the players, but it seemed very well, what do you want to do? And so if you're not used to playing a Dungeons and Dragons roleplay experience where you have freedom to do whatever you want to do, this could be very hard, because I could see a lot of players being like, I don't know what to do. And so the DM, of course, will have to try to be like, oh, you hear a knocking at the clock. Something to reference what you should be doing to help them to go through. So that was something that was very shocking to me, that was so free form. And it seemed like, for one example, they look out the window and they see a witch, and there wasn't much to that. I mean, it's interesting because I'm very much about the thematics of a game and being pulled into the world, but I get worried that if you don't have a strong DM, you can get lost in this one. So just be aware of that if this is a game that you're interested in backing. In terms of the overall gameplay, it seems simple enough and easy enough to when you to guide your hand through it. They do have red herrings, they do have things to throw you off, but overall it didn't seem overly complicated to figure out the story that they're trying to present to you. Of course, this could be an intro story, so I'm not sure if it's just for demo purposes or if this will actually be in the game or not. But it was casual enough, that I could see someone, a family member playing this, like a 7-year-old or 10-year-old, something like that. Overall, though, if you're to ask me, would I back this game? I normally don't answer this question in my reviews. And so I sometimes like to hold off my opinion till later. But this is one that I felt like I wanted to at least make a comment that I don't see myself backing this. When I first watched it, when I watched the intro video, I was like, this game is so cool. And it is. I think the idea of this game is really cool. I get nervous about the replayability. I get nervous about the DMing. I get nervous about the components and how long they'll survive with heavy use. So I don't see this game as one that I would be backing. I see this game as a game that I would love to play at a convention. go somewhere where there's already going to be a DM that's going to be playing, or someone that's going to be playing it, and I can just engross myself for an hour into a cool little story, and I don't have to worry about purchasing the game. That to me is where I would see this game, which is unfortunate because I want to see more people taking the risk to building or creating an idea that is new, instead of always doing dudes on a map or drafting games. This is something it's unique. And I think if the price point was a little lower for me, I think I'd be there. And so we'll see. We'll see how the price comes out. We'll see how the game finally, fleshes itself out after the end of the campaign. But for right now, I'm personally probably passing on this one. But I can see why people would back it, because if you're willing to support a new producer and you want to support a company that is going a step further to push the boundaries of what board gaming can be, I think this is a great little option. So that is my review of the Kickstarter Shivers. If you are interested in more content like this, please leave a comment down below and let me know. The question of the day, which I have forgotten to do like 4 days in a row, so I'm sorry for that. Question of the day: what is the next Kickstarter that you're looking forward to? If you want to really support the channel, make sure you leave a like on the little thumbs up button there. Subscribe if you're new, and we'll hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.